Hello everybody, and welcome to, at least to me, the long-awaited first alpha build of Delver's Drop. This, just something to take note, this is a little less polished than the pre-alpha build that I showed off before in the past couple videos. Essentially, since the PAX East build, everything has been pretty much reworked. They changed a lot of the resource kind of management tools. They started using Spine instead of as an animation tool rather than kind of animating frame by frame. So just a lot of stuff has been implemented and kind of broken down and built back up. So first thing, just right off the bat, is that we have two classes now. We have the Rogue and the Sorcerer. Thus, this build being called the Rogue Magic build. So, since we haven't seen him before, I'm going to show you guys, in this first episode, the Sorcerer. And I just want you all to take in the wonderful butt scoot that he has. It is absolutely beautiful, and I love it. And the very first time I played this, I was literally just laughing. Like, I was just giggling like an idiot when I first saw him scooting around like this. He's technically hovering off the ground, but he still has that look like he's scooting on his butt, and I love it. It's hilarious. So yeah, I really get a kick out of that. But yeah, so Sorcerer, in comparison to the Rogue class, he is actually significantly more slippery. He's a lot more floaty, because he literally is floating around, so he's a little tougher to control. He's not as tight to control, so you kind of have to take that into account when you're playing as him. But he is a ranged class, so he can approach enemies, or he can attack enemies from afar, and he doesn't have to deal with a lot of the direct combat that the Rogue has to deal with. So that's a nice aspect about him. Kobe, the head programmer on the game, kind of mentioned him as a glass cannon sort of character class, so you notice instead of 2 shields and 3 hearts, we only have 1 heart and we have 3 shields. So we have more shield protection, but we have less actual life protection. So that's something we have to be careful of. And as I said, you know, with things being a little rougher around the edges, you will notice, you know, certain things kind of clipping over each other, especially with like these 3D objects. You'll see the wall sort of clipping through the 3D pillars, or even this door frame right here. It's pretty obvious to see. But a lot of this stuff is, you know, very apparent, and it is known by the developers, so it's stuff that's being worked on and will be fixed over time through patches and new builds. And then another just kind of fun little bug I wanted to show off before we jump into the dungeon is this. No matter how many times you hit this after the initial phase of it being closed, it only plays the opening up animation. So right now it's open, and right now it's closed, so that's why I can stand above it without falling down the pit. But yeah, it just kind of plays that animation. So even though it's technically closed, it looks as though it's open. It's kind of a funny little detail there. So, the first major difference between this and the PAX East build is that we aren't in endless drop mode anymore. Before, you know, where we had the room, you know, the room level and all that different stuff, you know, how many rooms you've gone through, everything like that. We're actually playing through, you know, a dungeon now. And the dungeon's pretty kind of general room design. I think that right now they're focusing on getting a lot of the core mechanics in before they start working in major puzzles and more intricate rooms designs. Honestly, I felt that some of the variety in the rooms in the endless drop mode in the pre-alpha build had significantly more variety than the rooms we've seen thus far in this alpha build. But that's understandable. You know, nothing here is final, and a lot of stuff is going to be added and changed, possibly even removed, as we kind of go further along in the development process. So, lots of stuff to look forward to. So, as you can see already, we have new enemy types. These are candle wraiths. I think they shoot something like... These little sentient fireballs are called, like, flarelings, or... Not flarelings, but something similar. Something involving flares. But, each one of these can shoot out about, I believe, flarelings at a time. I'm just gonna call them flarelings right now because I forget what they're called. But yeah, so the candle dudes can be pretty nasty if you have like 3 or 4 in a room, and each of them is shooting out like four flarelings, so it can get very hectic, and especially because the Sorcerer can only really kind of take on one of them at a time, it becomes an issue. Here's the new ghost. I didn't really give it a chance to show off its new behavior. Or I sort of did. It's much more passive, which is why I was able to literally just blow it up in 2-3 hits. But they are friendly until provoked now, which is kind of neat. Basically means that, or, you know, it just lets it sink in that they actually kind of have this little tear kind of streaking down their face. It makes you feel a little worse for them when they aren't immediately hostile to you. So yeah, we have more candle wraiths through here. You'll also notice that the way that we head through doors is a little bit bugged, and on multiple occasions this has actually ended up with me getting stuck through the wall. And what happens is it acts as though you got into the next room, so it applies collision to the walls of the next room, but you're stuck outside of that room, and you're sent back to like the previous room. So say if I went through here, and I went through the side of the wall, these walls would still be here, but I would be on the other side of this wall, so I wouldn't be able to get back through. And I could actually explore all the rest of the dungeon as though there were no walls there at all, but I would be basically stuck. I wouldn't be able to go back through the drop. I wouldn't even be able to fall into a bottomless pit because the collision wouldn't be there. So yeah, you don't want to get stuck. You don't want to get stuck in the walls. Also, these bats love to hide in these little areas that I can't see them until they come out to strike at me. It's kind of annoying. But yeah, so you can see pretty clearly right here. This ghost is just kind of sitting here, crying at me. Very sad enemies. It seems like he really, really slowly kind of drifts towards me, but not nearly enough to be like any sort of threat. But yeah, that's the major problem that I have, is playing as Sorcerer or Rogue, you can take out the ghosts now without any retaliation at all, and it's not that I don't like that they're a little more passive, but they're too passive, you know. It kind of needs an in-between state from the PAX East build and this alpha build, where, you know, they're friendly at first, but then maybe once you attack them, they immediately phase out, transport somewhere else, and then start hurling fireballs at you like they usually would. And maybe we could also have more angered variants of ghosts, because there are definitely going to be a lot of variants of enemies. So one of the really dumb things that I complained about, or I didn't complain about, but I just kind of said that I missed on the forums, was that I wish that the bats were bigger, because I can't see them in as nice detail as I could in the PAX East build. But it has been brought up that there will be different sized varieties of bats as you go through, so I'm satisfied in that respect, you know. As long as I'll still be able to see those big crazy bats that we had before, it'll be nice. That was a good example of why rats are not fun in this build. I think that's something slightly bugged about the rat enemy types. They also have a bigger explosion radius, which becomes a problem, but the main thing is that they tend to set off chain reactions off of each other, and it makes it very difficult to avoid them from time to time. But even worse than that is that, you know, when you're playing as the rogue, since you have to get in close to fight enemies with them, you have to get in very close to blow up the rats. But because of an issue with, you know, when you charge up your weapon, it kind of kills your momentum. Getting away from the rats after hitting them when they're about to explode, it can be very dangerous. Anyways, this room is sort of a... Well, this is basically the room that you get to when... Or this is the lever room to open up the next level of the drop. Sorry, that's kind of long to articulate. But, yeah, 3 of these switches, I believe, are just traps that spawn bats. And then one of them, this one up top, I believe was the right one, is the one that'll actually open up the drop. So, now that we got that open, we're gonna go on ahead and head back to the first room we were in, and we're going to head down to the next level. Or actually, maybe we'll explore a little bit more. We've been here actually already. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of kinks that need to be worked out with the doors. One issue, like with that small room with the pit in the middle right there, is that it's kind of easy to get momentum going, and then if you don't expect to see a giant pit in the next room, and you don't react in time, you can fly directly into that pit without even knowing that it's there until you're already in it and die. But that's something that's happened to me a couple times. It's more off of my own stupidity than anything, but it's definitely something that maybe you should have a little bit more warning for. And then the other thing is, you probably saw me kind of shoot diagonally through one of the doors. That is pretty much what'll happen. That'll make you get stuck through the walls. So I have to be a little more careful going through doors so I don't end up getting stuck through them. It does become an issue. It's not a nice thing to have to deal with. But yeah, as far as playstyle goes, the Sorcerer plays significantly differently from the Rogue, as you would expect, and that is it's a very nice thing. You know, it adds a lot more variety to the game. It's a little tougher to control him, and I'm not sure if I said this already. I might have, but I kind of prefer the Rogue actually to the Sorcerer right now. Not that I don't like the Sorcerer anyway. I actually feel that he's a little easier to play as because he has that ranged aspect to him, even though he's more of a glass cannon. But like, he can avoid a lot of these situations right now that the Rogue, I feel, has some trouble getting through, especially those exploding rats. Like, those things are almost not even a matter of concern when playing as the Sorcerer. I mean, they still can be, and they still have been, but not to the extent where I feel like every single time I hit a rat as the Rogue, I feel like I'm probably gonna get hit by him. I do notice that hitboxes seem to be a little kind of wonky with the Sorcerer. It might be in general though, but it's just another thing that's gonna be worked out as development goes along. So yeah, more of these dudes. And as I've expressed before, playing as the Sorcerer, like only being able to hit one thing at a time, it can be kind of tough to take on these guys with the little flarelings that are coming after you. Alright, there we go. We got some bats. Oh, I haven't explained the UI. Whoa, carpeting. Or, I don't even know what. Secret pathway? No, probably not. Kind of neat looking, though. But I haven't explained everything about the UI. So first off, I'll start off with these little blue things we've been getting. If you look on the top right, we have a blue crystal next to an empty bar. Right now, none of the bars are implemented right now, and also none of the items are actually implemented right now, which is why we haven't found any crossbows or bombs or anything of that sort. There's going to be, you know, keys, all manners of different equipment that we're going to be able to use, but right now, it's not implemented yet. It probably will be with either the next patch or the next major alpha build release. But yeah, so every time we kill an enemy, like a major enemy, the flarelings don't really count, I don't think. But every time we kill an enemy, we get these little blue shiny things, and the little blue shiny things charge up our special meter, which you don't see right now, but you can get the idea. You know, as we gather those, that bar on the top right would fill up until it's completely full. And then, based on what class we are, we have a special ability. Each class has their own unique special ability that they will be able to use, you know, just to get out of tight spots or just to take out particularly tough enemies easily. It really depends on the class and the situation. But I can't think of the Sorcerer specifically. But an example I do know, just because I know this particular class by heart, because I'm really looking forward to being able to play as it, is the Elementalist. It's sort of the Pyromancer class out of all of them. So it's more of a slower... It's like if you mixed... I guess, potentially if you mixed the Gladiator class with the Sorcerer class, you might get something sort of like the Elementalist. But the Elementalist has a more random factor to his elemental attacks. He, you know, he can so say for example he can gather fire from these torches, so he'd absorb that and then he'd start shooting like fire attacks. Or maybe depending on the environment he's in, if he's in like an icy area, he might be able to absorb the cold energy out of the atmosphere, something crazy like that, and then kind of shoot it back out as an attack. This is mostly speculation from on the forums and stuff that we've talked about in the past, but you know, just kind of potential ideas, because it sounds like this is sort of the intended effect that is supposed to be achieved by the Elementalist class. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is, special attacks. Hit the Elementalist's particular special attack. The table is jumping. Oh, because it's got the Candle Wraith under it. Get out of there. He is stuck under the table. Oh. Did he die? I don't even know. Anyways, let's keep going. What's this? I haven't seen a room like this before. What? What is this? Did I solve something? That was very strange. Can I keep moving this? No. Can I move it back? No. I don't even know. It's interesting. I don't know what it does, but it's interesting. Yeah, they don't have like the most intricate puzzles designed into the alpha quite yet, but they're working on it. But okay, if I can finally get back to the UI. So basically the Elementalist special attack is called Wildfire, and what it is he shoots out snaking streams of random elemental magic. So he's just kind of shoot whatever he can get at enemies, and it sounds pretty cool, like, you know, just kind of the visual effect of the snaking streams of elemental power kind of shooting out of his staff. He uses a staff weapon, so he kind of looks more like a Gandalf sort of dude, except he's wearing like a giant rock on his head, or like a rock helmet. Or maybe it's like a log, like a tree trunk helmet, I don't know. They live out sort of in nature, because their backstory is that they are like ostracized from society, because they're dangerous and their powers can manifest randomly. So they're dangerous to be around other people, and other people are afraid of them. But yeah, basically you charge that blue bar up, and once it gets full and you want to use it on, say, a powerful enemy, you'd press space or whatever the special attack button is, and you would shoot this big stream of elemental energy at an enemy. And you'd be able to do that you know, whenever that bar fills up from killing such and such amount of enemies. And it might vary from class to class depending on, you know, how powerful that special might be. If it's something that should be used often, you know, it'll probably only take a couple of enemies, maybe a room's worth of enemies to charge up that ability. Or if it's like a really powerful thing that you should like save up for really powerful enemies or bosses and encounters like that, you might want to, or it might take, you know, quite a bit more enemy killing and energy gathering in order to get it fully charged. But yeah, anyways. So that's a single aspect of the UI that took me like 5 minutes to explain. I'm really sorry. It's kind of early and I'm having trouble sorting through all of this information. There's a lot of stuff to touch on. It's difficult, but I'm trying my hardest. So I apologize if it is not to your liking, but I'll try and improve as time goes on. And once I explain all this stuff, this is the first episode of the alpha build, so you know there's a lot more for me to explain than normal. Anyways, so we have that. Then below that, this does not need 5 minutes of explanation, is your money bar. But yeah, so that's money. Below that, we have our current weapon, which is the Shoddy Rod of Fury. And Fury is the element of fire in this game. This game has kind of its own names for each of the elements, but it's not just the element themselves, like fire, water, wind, earth, that sort of thing. It's also sort of, each element might embody certain concepts. And I think I explained this in a previous video, but I'll just restate it right here since this is kind of a new build. And I'll go into this as though we're kind of looking at this as a fresh sort of look at the game. But yeah, so Fury... Oh crap. Oh, I almost fell in that pit. So Fury is the fire element, or at least closest related to the fire element, but it also embodies the concept of Berserk. And so, you know, sort of like Gladiator, kind of like that brute strength idea. And it's identified by the marking on our wand, just kind of that little design, the triangle design with sort of the V going through it. And you also saw it on that box right there. That was a Fury box, so when you hit it, it explodes like an explosive barrel would, but you can tell it's explosive because it has the Fury sign on it. And then, since this is a Fury one, we shoot fireballs out of it. Oh, and here's pipes. I haven't actually run into these before. This is pretty neat. So yeah, pipes will actually... I'm not sure if they damage you. I'm gonna risk it. Nope. But they do push you very far, and they can potentially send you flying into pits, that sort of thing. So that's kind of a cool feature. I haven't run into it yet, so it's neat to see it. And then if you hit these, I believe that can turn off entire sections of the piping. Yeah, so if we hit both of those, then just completely off, and then we can turn it back on for fun. Which, you know, is something I would always want to do, so I'm glad that they give you that option. But, yeah, so we have the Shoddy Rod of Fury. You pick up different tiers of quality in terms of weapons, and you also pick up different material weapons. So in the Sorcerer's case, you pick up more elemental types of weapons, whereas with the Rogue, you pick up all sorts of different materials, like copper, iron, there's something called Magisteel. You have... God, there's some really interesting names. Like, I think Cinnabrite might have been one of the materials you could get. You have, maybe... not plutonium. What is it? Platinum. That's what it is. Plutonium. But, so yeah, you can get, like, all these different types of weapon materials, and then you can also get different grades of each of those. So you have, like, a crappy or blunt weapon. You have, just kind of decent quality. You have a rusted sword. You have an engraved sword would be sort of the special, most powerful type of sword that you could get in any certain category. But, yeah, they basically kind of split up things like that. So, as far as the bar below the weapon itself, I think that might be to show your weapon charge, although I don't know if that would be necessary. I'm not sure what it is exactly. It might be its own special attack thing as you kill enemies, maybe. I'm not completely sure on that one. There's a post on the forums about the updated UI and what everything means, so if you want a less bumbling, confused take on it, since I'm doing this live and I don't want to kind of stop the game just to go and check it, yeah, it'd probably be better and more accurate to go check out exactly what each aspect of the UI means on the forums. But finally, on the bottom left, we don't have it right now. I think I mentioned this before, but we don't have any items yet in this build. So yeah, but basically it would appear in sort of a half-wheel form, where you have like a single spoke of the wheel would point to your currently selected item, and then each item would kind of be around this kind of small half loop on that bottom left side of the screen. So bombs would go there, torches are a new item that we haven't seen yet, but they've been shown in one of the kind of teaser pictures of the new UI. Health potions, we've seen, we can't use them, or they're just kind of used as an immediate kind of full health potion, but you'll probably be able to store those for later at some point, once we get the items in the game. All sorts of things like that. So that's not there right now, but it will be on the bottom left side of the screen. That part of the screen won't just be empty. And then finally, up top, on the top left, you have your character name and your character level. And level, like money, goes across characters, but it goes specifically for character classes. So if you're a level 10 rogue, you're not going to be a level 10 assassin if you try and play an assassin. You'll have to build up the assassin class and kind of get their skill tree up. Did I talk about this stuff already? I feel as though I did talk about the levels, but I guess I'll just explain it again. Try and explain it a little more in depth if I haven't already. But, yeah, so the aspect of permadeath, you know, it's not, you don't lose everything. So across characters, you'll level up and you'll get, kind of perks on a skill tree, but it won't be anything outside of, you know, very slight sort of perks. Like, I guess, if I had to compare it to a different game, Borderlands isn't a great example, but maybe, like, the badass ranks in Borderlands, like, slight percentage improvements, or maybe not even percentage improvements, but, just tiny things that might kind of change the way that you approach the character and kind of might impact your playstyle. So you can play you can play any way that you want to, but by getting by getting a certain by leveling up certain skills on the skill tree, you might benefit more in certain areas, I guess. Anyways, so that's that, and then lastly is pretty basic. It's just your name. Balturus Avenstep is kind of our default name for the Sorcerer right now. That'll range out to like hundreds, I think thousands of different randomly generated names from people who contributed, their own names to the game, and those will be seen, later on. But right now we just kind of have these default class names shown to us. So Balturus Avenstep is sort of the default Sorcerer name. So I guess that's essentially everything. What just happened to me right here is sort of a game-breaking bug, at least I believe. I'm not sure. There might be a way to fix this, but I haven't been able to find one. So when I was going through that door, I went through it too diagonally, and I talked about this before, but yeah, it kind of acted up on me, and I got stuck through the wall. So unless I could somehow get through this little crack in the wall right here, which I don't think is too likely. Maybe I could build up some butt scooching momentum. I don't think I can go fast enough though. But yeah, it's a pain. But that's gonna have to end our run here. So as I said, there are things that are being worked out. This, more than anything, I think is a major concern that is being addressed. So I guess that's really all there is to say. I'm sorry it took me so damn long to explain all of those UI things, but next time when we go into this, I'll try and be a little more natural and not explain every single little thing and just kind of play through the game naturally. I'm going to show off the Rogue class next time and show off some of the things about that class, and yeah, essentially that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed for what it was worth. I'm sorry I got stuck through that wall. This was a pretty good run until that point. But yeah, I'll see you all later. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.